Hello everyone, for the third case study, we're going to talk about nuclear energy.
Nuclear energy is a powerful and clean alternative to fossil fuel. It's generated during a nuclear reaction by altering the atom's nucleus. The energy produced is due to the conversion of mass into energy. In nuclear fission, the nucleus of a heavy atom such as uranium is split into smaller nuclei as they are hit by a fast-moving neutron. As a result of this reaction, a huge amount of heat is produced as well as 3 other neutrons that bombard other uranium atoms, forming a chain reaction. The heat produced is used to heat water into steam that drives a turbine producing electricity. In 1932, James Chadwick discovered the neutron. From 1938 to 1939, numerous scientists including Leo Szilard confirmed the nuclear chain reaction that results from fission reactions. In 1942, as part of the Manhattan Project to create atomic weapons during World War II, the world's first nuclear chain reaction took place in Chicago. The US drops 2 atomic bombs, Little Boy and Fat Man, over the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6th and 9th, 1945, which leads to the end of World War II. On Saturday, April 26, 1986, the worst nuclear disaster in history happened in the Soviet Union, releasing 400 times more radioactivity into Earth than the Hiroshima bombing. From 1996, more and more countries decided to construct nuclear power plants for electricity generation, including Japan, Finland, and France. On March 11, 2011, the Fukushima nuclear disaster happened after a 9.0 magnitude earthquake and tsunami. This was considered the most severe accident since the Chernobyl disaster. Because of that, in 2012, Japan shut down the last working nuclear reactor. By last year, around 10% of the world's electricity is generated by over 440 nuclear reactors, and about 50 more reactors are under construction, equivalent to approximately 15% of existing capacity. As shown in the diagram on the left, the number of nuclear power plants keeps increasing every year, and the reasons are based on the huge benefits of nuclear power. First, although the construction of nuclear power plants involves carbon emissions, no carbon is being emitted during operation, and the total carbon emissions are less than 5% of the traditional power plants. Second, the capacity factor of nuclear power is much higher than traditional fossil fuel, like natural gas at around 50% and renewable energy like solar power at 25%. Furthermore, nuclear power plants under a normal scenario releases less radiation than any other energy source, and the variable cost of electricity generation is much lower during daily operations.
However, there are strong oppositions on using nuclear energy in communities due to several potential risks and drawbacks. These drawbacks include nuclear waste and the fact that poor maintenance can lead to radiation exposure to surrounding environment. In addition to these drawbacks, there are several reasons why some communities like Japan do not support nuclear power. As discussed before, accidents which cause devastating damages towards the community are one of the main reasons why people go against installing nuclear power plants. Also, according to some studies, there is an increased risk ranging from lung cancer to diabetes in communities near uranium mines. These potential hazards involving the production of nuclear energy are the main points that prevents the public to support nuclear energy. As the disadvantages of having nuclear power plant facilities are clear, these create a stalemate of no communities wanting these systems in their own communities.
As outlined by this quote from Professor Thorson, any future steps from this point on should consider both impact on the climate and economic prosperity. Keeping this in mind, we ask a few questions. So will safe nuclear energy be part of our future, or will it serve as a temporary evil, a transition technology to help us meet our energy deficit as we switch completely to other renewable energy sources such as wind and solar? The world needs to meet its Paris Climate Conference commitments in the next decade, and nuclear may play an important role to keep GHG emissions low in the near future despite a steady decrease or stagnant growth in nuclear in European economies such as France and Germany, and much of the Eastern world, exemplified by Japan. In Canada, however, the situation is unique. The Fukushima Daiichi accident had nearly negligible effect on generation of nuclear, as the 19 power plants here are still running at full capacity. For Canada, it seems nuclear is a sustainable solution. It makes good environmental sense because GHG emissions are lowered, economic sense because foreign revenue is earned from building CANDU reactors abroad, and social sense because fission produces cobalt-60 isotopes that are used for sterilization and medical purposes. The only drawback is ascertaining how safe is safe. The irony is these plants are now more susceptible to damage from extreme weather events caused by climate change, the very thing we are trying to stall by depending less on fossil fuels and more on nuclear. However, all these dilemmas would be solved instantly if viable nuclear fusion were commercialized. The process generates 10 times the energy input into the system and drinking water as its end product. No radioactive waste, no risk of contamination. Is this just a fairy tale? Not quite. Fusion Electric, a company in BC, has been working with some of the best minds across universities to bring this technology to life. Professor Higgins from McGill, who collaborates with them, said, if they pull this off, it would be bigger than the discovery of fire. Surely, with the rate at which work is being carried out, it may not be a question of if the energy crisis will be solved by nuclear, but when.